What's the nerdiest thing you've seen someone do IRL? 1. A friend received a TI's 89 calculator as a Christmas gift and spent the rest of the holiday reading the manual. 2. Watched someone code a program just to automate their Pokemon breeding stats. 3. Edited all 3 Back to the Future movies to make a single film, then watched it on October 21st, 2015 and started it just so when Doc points at the clock and says it's 4:29 on October 21st, 2015, it was 4:29. TBH kinda cool. 4. I have a mate who is a kettle fanatic, meaning he knows all the firms, models, their wattage, and the like. 5. First day of my first computer science program. They were playing WoW or a similar game on their oversized gaming laptop while in the front row of a computer science lecture, snacking on junk food, and wearing an obscure anime t-shirt. After lecture, they tried to brown-nose the professor and telling the professor they have been counting in hexadecimal since they were 5, which is also 5 in hexadecimal. 6. I was at the Star Trek-themed hotel in Vegas the last weekend it was open before they changed themes. Was sitting at Quark's bar drunkenly commiserating about it with some random other Trekkies. We were so sad it was closing. One guy mused, "Do you think they'll build another one?" And I replied, "Well, there was an NCC 1701B. Those who grew up poor. What is something those who weren't poor don't understand about being poor?" 1. The constant fear of running out of money that creates this weird obsession over and guilt about spending money, even when you've got decent finances. I grew up poor, and my partner grew up upper middle class. We have managed to carve out a pretty comfortable life, but I still have panic attacks about money and being able to afford essentials, food, rent, etc. They are flabbergasted every time it happens. Like supportive, but completely confused as to why I get so upset. My response is always money can run out. 2. How much relationships matter. You're a lot safer in a dangerous neighborhood if you know and have good allies/friends in the neighborhood. It's a lot easier to share a bedroom with 4 or so other people if you like those people. You can't afford that new car part, but if you know that dude in the neighborhood who fixes cars, he might hook you up for a little cash. Etc., etc. TLDR, having solid, good relationships with people you have history with can make a world of difference. 3. Immigrant parents for me. Grew up so damn poor they would sometimes wake up with snow on their face as it fell through the bricks in the roof. I'm an IT contractor and paid a general contractor to come by to work on my house. My dad flipped shit saying it was way too expensive. He doesn't understand it's more expensive for me to not do my job, not get paid, and do the work myself than to still do my job and pay the professional to do the work. But I still hesitate on little things. 4. Also the massive difference family relationships make for your life success. I had friends just as intelligent as me that never made it out of these rough estates because their father was absent and their mother didn't give a shit about their education. Meanwhile, my parents were poor and could never help financially. But they read with me every night, would always answer every question, lobbied my teachers to create opportunities for me, pushed me to work harder and research scholarships for me, and taught me what hard work and loving relationships looked like. 5. One of my teachers wanted all the kids to buy this particular kind of notebook, like some fancy thing. I did tell my mom, because I knew we couldn't afford it. So after I was like a week late bringing it, the teacher took me to the office and watched while he made me phone my mother, who had been sleeping from working her night shift job in preparation for her second job, and I had to sit there while he watched, and I listened to my mother cry on the phone about getting this expensive book. I had to pretend it was all okay so the teacher didn't know. 6. One thing people who weren't poor don't really get is how you always had to think about money on every little thing. Like, even simple stuff like snacks or going to the movies wasn't just a fun idea. It was, can we afford it? Or, do we have enough to cover everything else? I remember wearing hand-me-downs that didn't fit quite right and pretending not to care when kids teased me. Or when the power would get cut off and we will sit around with candle. It wasn't just about not having stuff, it was the constant worry and knowing that one little thing going wrong could mess everything up. That's the part people don't really see.
What was the worst day of your life and why? 1. My partner had been in hospital for 2 days with a chest infection getting 4 antibiotics. We were texting about what we were going to cook for dinner that night once he got home. Suddenly I got a call. A nurse telling me to come in now. I was there in under 12 minutes, but I didn't get there in time. We were supposed to be getting married next month on our 16th anniversary. 2. I lost my dad in January just so suddenly, and I've spent the last week nursing my partner's cat after he suddenly had 3 seizures in the middle of the night with no prior warning signs. I don't think he's going to make it. This entire year has been a shit show. 3. When they announced to me a suspicion of a criminal offense that I did not commit. This affect my life significantly, expenses for a lawyer, trips to court that continue to this day. I cannot exist normally because I am under supervision. 4. My mother found her very disabled sister beaten to a pulp in her wheelchair. My mom was 18 and her sister probably 40-something. Her husband got, I think, 3 years in jail for manslaughter. My grandmother became a drunk after she died. The night he was released from prison, he showed up at the bar. Small community, only one bar, and he had a shiny new pair of dentures. He came up to my grandmother and had the nerve to smile and call her Mom. She lost it. She was a strong woman, worked the fields all her life, and after she was widowed. She punched him so hard and kept punching until those teeth spilled on the floor like pearls. 5. The day my sister was murdered by an abusive partner who was never charged. 6. My wife and I both worked at the same hospital. I worked night shift and she worked days. I got a call right about shift change that my wife didn't feel well and I would need to come to her office. I got there and she was on a stretcher. I took her to the emergency room and 5 minutes into the exam she went unconscious. They performed CPR for about 5 minutes and she sat straight up, looked around, and immediately was back unconscious. After what seemed like forever, but was really about 25 minutes, I had to make the call to stop resuscitation. She was 33 years old. I had to tell my sons, 16 and 10, that their mother was gone. The part that broke my heart was when my 10-year-old said, "Why can't it be me?" What advice would you give someone struggling with work-life balance? 1. Prioritize your well-being and schedule time for personal rest. 2. I'd say prioritize rest and set boundaries. It'll help you stay more focused, and also don't pressure yourself too much. Give yourself a time to take a breathing and analyze things. 3. Learn now to say no. 4. The way I see it, no, that is not a balanced life. I strongly believe a 32-hour work week, 4-day work weeks, 3-day weekends, is where society should ideally be. I think the overall mental health of society would be better with this 4-day, 32-hour work week. 5. Work for exactly you're paid for. Just be careful. 6. Should you leave this planet, the business will continue on without you as though you never existed. Work won't miss you, those in your personal life will. Big thanks to everyone who watched to the end. I really appreciate the support, and please hit the subscribe button.